a big challenge for Africans. We even term it African time, right? So we were learning from the swallows that the cliff swallows, they come back after migration or during migration, same day every year without fail. From the South America to the North America and vice versa. So, but with us who have got brains, yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge in my school. It's not only, I'm not saying you, my school. We had to do it twice. So one of the principles we learned was before time is on time. So meaning that you're on time only when you are before time, 15 minutes before. Because that time we push it for delays, for anything that could happen. Am I right? So let us try tomorrow to be on time. Amen. Okay. Yesterday we talked about homemaking or a homemaker or a mother. I could say, yeah, our role as parents in this homeschool, right? And I shared with you my journey. So we're gonna look today at what is true education and a brief history of home education from the beginning up until maybe our time, what it should be. So before we begin, I'm gonna ask us to open the book of Colossians. Let's get something there. Colossians. Okay, let me get this chapter 1. Okay. Just a moment for me. I just want to get the verse. Okay. Colossians 2 verse 3. Yes, Colossians 2 verse 3. If you have it, please read for us.
2 verse 3.
Yes.
In whom I hid all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge.
Okay, in whom I hid what? Treasures of wisdom. If you studied from 2, it talks about God, the Father, and Christ. In whom I hid all the treasures of wisdom and what? Knowledge. All right, and then we do Jeremiah. Let's do Jeremiah. Jeremiah 2 verse 13. Jeremiah 2 verse 13. Yes.
For my people have committed 2 evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns, that can hold no water.
Okay. Did you hear that verse? My people have committed how many evils?
2.
Yes, they have what? Forsaken me, the fountains of living water, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that cannot hold water. Okay, we'll get to understand which are broken cisterns that cannot hold water. So when we learn through education, we learn the difference between the true and the what? And the false. Simple as that. So when you have a banknote, you need to know the original first before you can be able to identify a what? A fake. You don't learn the fake. They teach you the original first. So now we're going back to what? To the original. what is true education? Or maybe let's start, what is not true education? Okay, I'm gonna try and try and be quick. But before, let's try and give ourselves about 2 minutes, and then let's think. Where should education happen? And how has it influenced in your life? What do you think is true? Do you think is true education? Maybe one or two people can say, what is true education? Where should education happen? And how has it influenced your life? Just 2 minutes. Okay. I want that engagement. I don't want to talk alone. Okay. You had the question? Yes. Okay. Where should education happen? How has it influenced your life? Maybe just there. So that you can see where we are going, or whether we are right with it as we continue with the presentation. Yes, Mommy?
True education is the harmonious development of the physical, mental, and spiritual.
Okay.
Its goal is to do character perfection.
Okay, that is its goal. Okay, to do character development. All right. Someone else? Where should education begin? Maybe let's ask this question. Where should education happen? Where should it happen?
At home.
Is it only at home?
It should happen everywhere, because the Bible says when you rise up, when you sit down, when you walk by the way, teach these things to your children.
Okay. And maybe one person, how has education influenced your life? How has it influenced your life? Even the children, let's see, how has it influenced your life? Oh, how has it changed your life? It's just that engagement, so that I can hear from you, then you hear from me as well. How has it influenced your life? Education.
I'm trying to figure out if education, the religious one or...
It doesn't matter. Education, the education that you have received, how has it influenced your life?
Actually, it has, maybe I can say it has helped me to form about characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
My brother?
It has influenced most of the choices that I make. Whether it's about the choices about my diet, even to the extent of even how I interact or associate with other people. It has also been influenced by what I've done. So just
Okay. All right. Let's start by, thank you so much. Is there anyone who can share with us how education has influenced their lives?
Maybe I can just add that it also gives an identity and source of living.
Identity and source of
living as well.
Yes. Have you had people who have been educated with on books and went to school, and they would say to people who maybe in the countryside who had not gone to school, this one is not educated. Is that right? That's not right, okay? Education happens anywhere, everywhere you are, okay? It is not limited to a certain place. So true education is not limited to a what? To a certain space or place, ne? And it is not only a pursuit of a course of study. It's not only that because I did medicine or engineering, then I'm educated. No, it's not a course, okay? And it is not only for a limited time. I do 7 years, I do 3 years, 6, no. Education is for what? It's for a lifetime. And from when you are born to the day you close your eyes permanently or temporarily until Jesus comes. And it is not mental training only. It is not what? Yeah, we're thinking people are, this one is not what? Educated, because that mental training or intellectual training is not there. And it is not only gained in a schoolroom, all right? I just want to emphasize that, okay? We think that our education, even in homeschooling, we think we have a schoolroom. That's where education should happen. No, under the tree, in the bedroom, in the kitchen, in the garden, education happens, okay? So don't limit education, because even as my brother has said, Brother Martin, when you walk by the wayside, education what happens, okay? And education, true education is not self-seeking, or is not making you self-sufficient. You know, I'll be able to do this for myself, you know, I'll be able to own how many cars or this many buildings. It's not limit, it's not that. That's not true education. True education is imparting to others, you know, what you have, you know, and it is not a forcing of an instruction, okay? And we've seen that in our schools, that in the secular schools, that education was forced. You know, children, even if they don't want to go to school, you see children crying, hey, go to school. They cry, to go. And sometimes there's a stick there. You must go, you must go. And you know, you find that this is a poor small child, not ready for the classroom, but yay, you are going. And you're forcing them to write. Right. And that child is having some problems. Maybe the child is dyslexic, but we are forcing what? Instructions. Ne? So it's not forcing of an instruction. So with true education, you look at the whole person and their abilities, their learning styles, everything. I think we'll talk as we go. It is not ignoring science, true education. True education does not ignore science. Okay? Doesn't say no. We only do Bible and nature, then that's it. That's not true education. It doesn't ignore science, okay? It does not even ignore literary acquirements. And then, because you have a doctorate, we don't associate with you. You don't have true education. No, but what is it that I can learn from you? You understand? So that is what is not true education. And Mama gave us a definition of what true education is. It is a high and noble work. It is a what? A noble work. Let us not look down on true education. It's high and noble, and it helps us to reflect God's image. So if ever you are doing education, whatever education, and it does not help you at the end to reflect God's image, that is not true education. Eh? Education is religion. You don't separate the two. Religion, education. Education is redemptive. It's associated to salvation. Education is restorative. Health, spiritually, physically, and what? And mentally. It's a harmonious what? Development of all the powers, the physical, the spiritual, and the mental. It is about character building. It builds the what? The character. And it directs the mind to God. I'm going to try to be faster because my presentation is longer. True education is imparting wisdom, not only intellect. Okay, have you seen the people who did not go to school, but they're so wise, they can do, they've had empires and they have had homes built without knowing a single book or having gone to school. Wisdom. You don't say because I'm educated I'm wise. No. You're going to confuse the two. Okay, and this is just a few things that I've taken. You can add more. And true education creates what? Thinkers, and not mere reflectors of other men's thoughts. This is very important. Yes, I'm actually taking you through the book Education as we go through now here. So I encourage us to go through the book Education. I think the first few chapters. So we don't create who? We create thinkers. We don't make people mere reflectors. My professor said, who else said. No, what are you saying? What did God whisper to you? All right. So just the definition, education 13, paragraph 1. It has to do with the whole being and with the whole period of existence possible to man. It is the harmonious development of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual powers. It prepares the student for the joy of service in this world. And for the joy of for the higher joy of wider service in the world to come. That's the definition of what true education is. So now all this is important to know, because now when you know true education, then you are able to say, oh, but I'm not educated all around. Something is missing. So your education should include the spiritual content, the intellect, and also educate the physical. So we term it, you train the hand, or maybe start the head, the heart, and the what? And the hand. So it's that cycle. So you need to do that, and it must be harmonious. When something is harmonious, what does it mean?
They're working together.
They're working together. And if we are singing, all of us singing, the key is D or D flat. D. Let's say it's D, and then somebody sings D flat. What's gonna happen? There's a what?
Out of harmony.
Yeah, out of harmony. It's a what? It's discord. So we need to sing in harmony in order for us to have, a beautiful melody. So even in education, it's important. It's possible for you to not have a harmonious what? Development. So we always have to strive for that harmony. But most of the time, we educate the what?
Only the mind.
Hey, and you find that we say to you, go and cook us a meal. Hey, that person will take hours and hours, ne? They say Jesus was perfect as a workman, as he was in what? In character. And also intellectually. So we need to be perfect in everything that we do. The hand, the head, and the heart. So we just read the verse. It says the source of true education. Who's the source? In him I hid the what? The treasures of wisdom and knowledge. So God is our source. So if we don't invite God in our schools, then we are surely gonna be lagging what? Behind. And he is the fountain of living waters. So we shouldn't go and hew us cisterns that cannot hold what? Water. Because at the end we will try, when you have a cisterns that cannot hold water, we'll always try to do patchwork all the time. Ne? All the time we do what? Patchwork. Alright? So, and also true education helps us to know God, and this is life eternal, that they might who? They might know him, the only true God. So if you're having education that draws you away from God, there are studies that draws people away from God. Things like anthropology. Studies like anthropology, they would throw out God completely. It will take you through to the theory of evolution. When you do the theory of evolution, is God there?
No.
He is not there. So true education just helps you to know God, whom he has sent, Jesus Christ, whom he has sent. So what are the fundamentals that we should learn is that to understand the nature of man before the fall and after the fall, understand how education was before and how education was after the fall, and we must know the purpose of God creating us, must know the consequences of the fall, and in relation to what? To education, and what is God's plan to fulfill his promise even after the what? After the fall. And you need to know how, when, and where to implement this plan that God has given us. I hope we're going together. So I like this quote from education. It says, when Adam came from the Creator's hand, he bore with him all he bore in his physical, the mental, the spiritual, a likeness to his maker. So we understand that when Eden came out of God's hand, he was perfect in all three forms, the physical and the spiritual and the what? And the mental. And it was his purpose that the longer man lived, the more fully he should reveal his image. So in everything that I've told you today, or I've shared with you, just know that the goal of true education is for us to reflect what? God's image. To be like who? Like God. So that people can see that God is with them. It's not that for us that people can know our things or to know the things that we have or anything, but for people to know who? To know God and to see God in our lives. Okay? So now the aim of true education, especially after the fall, is to restore in man the image of his maker, is to bring man back to the perfection in which he was created. Because I shared with you that, Adam, when he came out of the master's hand, he was what? He was perfect. But the problem is when after the fall, then he lost that perfection. Then what does true education do? It brings him back to that perfection, and it promotes the development of the body, soul, and mind. Okay, so we get that all this from the book Education. He who cooperates with the divine purpose in imparting to the youth a knowledge of God and molding the character into harmony with his does a high and noble work. That's your education, page 19. So let us not look down on true education. How many times have we looked down on education in colleges that uses their hands? I'm going to share with you in South Africa, they call it special education. I don't know why you call it here. The hand.
Technical colleges.
Yeah. Let's not go up there. Let's go down. People who are disabled. People who cannot, disabled, maybe they are blind, they say they are not well here, so they give them the education of the hand. The education that we're supposed to be sent to those schools where they teach intellect. So they are not balancing the education. So the education of the hand, they say people who are disabled, they are fit to use the education of the hand, that educates the hand. So they build cupboards, they do welding. Yes. So now this is the work of true education. It comes here. We balance it. So when you do that kind of education in South Africa, they think, you're doing education of people with special needs. I hope it's not like this here. Because indeed we've got special needs, don't we?
We also have special.
Yes, we are special. So we have to do this education. So we do not look down upon this kind of education. Okay, when you learn sewing, you say tailoring, sewing. The best people we know who do tailoring are coming from Malawi. They're in South Africa.
Okay.
Yes, people who are good builders. They're coming from what? Mozambique. And this is the education that we need to bring into our homes, into our church schools, to balance that education. But most of the time, what do? We say, it's not for us. We want the engineering route, the science route. We want the business route, okay? So that we can be accountants, to be teachers. So through education, it balances that. So let's look at the Eden School, how the Eden School was. So we're going back to what? Back to Eden. It is our what? It is our blueprint where we look to how our school should be. So the Eden School, it was located in the garden home. It was located where? You know that there was no, maybe talking to the children, do you know there was no house in Eden? What was the walls of the house, of the school, of the home? What were the walls? Yes, you know, those climbing vines, they were the what? They were the walls. What was the ceiling? I think we get that from the book, The Story of Redemption. What was the ceiling? The sky with the stars. When you're sleeping, what do you see? You see the ceiling to the roof, you don't see the stars. So Adam and Eve, when they were sleeping, they could see the dome of the stars. Yes, that was their home. It was like that. So the garden was their home and their school. The books, what did they have? Books, written books. What was their book? Nature was their book. Yes, nature. It is said that even when Adam looked at the tree, he could see, you know, the nutrients coming down from the earth going to the leaves. You know, that transportation. Can you see that? Can we do that now? We don't have that eye. Yeah? So looking at the leaf, they could see all the parts of the leaf. You know, when you do photosynthesis, they tell you of the parts, what is there, what makes the sugar and to make the leaf green, you know, those things. So that was their school. Their instructor was God himself and the angels. How much have we lost? We lost a lot, And the students were Adam and himself. So what were they doing during their school? There was counseling and instruction from from the angels. They were walking through the garden, so they took walks with God. In the cool of the day, God would come and say, let's take a Let's take a walk. They held face-to-face communion with the eternal Father. How much have we lost? Yeah. They were dressing and keeping the garden. Remember, he was put there to dress and keep the garden, you know, to make it nice. Landscaping, fixing the vines there and there. There was useful occupation. There was no idleness. Even before the fall, there was no idleness. So when I was growing up, and we were encouraged that we should go to school so that we should not do washing. Yeah, you must go to school so that when you get somebody to wash for you and to do these things. And indeed, when you are washing the clothes and it's tough, it's like, yeah, I'm going to school really, and I'm not gonna do this work. It's tough, you know. So but it is the same work that builds our character, because you are learning as you wash. You are learning that Christ is also washing us our sins. Those are the lessons, And when you wash, you know, every day, to say it's an everyday job, You don't wash once and finish. No, every day we come to Christ, God. Let us reason together. Though your sins be as scarlet, I will wash them white. Yes, no. These are lessons that we learn as we do the washing. With my sons, when I was teaching them to do washing for themselves, I would always say, go wash your clothes, go wash your clothes. And they would take time and I would take the washing and put it there and say, go wash your clothes. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to keep quiet. And then they wore their clothes up until the last one. Ow, I've got nothing to wear. Oh, you've got nothing to wear. Go wash your clothes. And then they started now taking clothes to go wash outside. Since then, they learned that you need to keep your clothes clean. I don't tell them, they go and wash their own clothes. So children must know that, you know, this is it's a spiritual work as well. Okay, so useful occupation appointed as a means to strengthen the body, to expand the mind, and to develop the character. That is true education. So the nature lesson books that they learned, it's what we should learn now. They learned botany. Botany is about trees. They learned zoology. It's about animals. Okay, they learned about marine biology, which is about the sea, the fishes and all that stuff. They learned astronomy. The study of what? Of stars. The constellations. They learn ornithology. What is ornithology? Study of birds. Yes. They studied entomology. What is that? Entomology. The study of insects. I just want to show you how they make us confused. And in the world they say entomology, and you think, oh, this is a serious. Hey, I want to be an entomologist. You learn about ants. You wait until you finish matric. What do you call them? Form 4, to go study about ants, and then you have certified, you have a degree of entomology. Come on, guys. So this is the lesson. This is the qualification we need to learn. Now, I remember we did it. I think maybe 5 years ago. The entomology. Yeah, learn head and thorax and abdomen. What is an insect? You've done that, right?
Yes.
This one is an entomologist.
We have one here.
We've got. Now, if you ask him about my grade, I'm telling you guys, what's happening out there is really low rated. Low rated. You wait until you are old to go study astronomy, the study of the stars. Please, let us not look down about the education that God has given us. Okay, geology, the study of the what? Of the earth, the rocks and the minerals. Hydrology, the study of water. Who are studying water right now? You are studying water. Hepatology. They don't know and they are studying it. The mandulas, they are doing hepatology. It's a study of amphibians and reptiles. So when you finish, you're going to be a hepatologist. All right? Yeah, tell people, I'm a hydrologist. I'm a hepatologist. Okay? So these are some nature lessons that they did. You see how God has spread his nature. We study it. Vast. You look at the stars and you see Orion. Yeah, you see the constellation Castor and Pollux. You don't need to wait until there. So God has given us these lessons, and these are for children. They're for who?
They're for children.
And not for adults. Don't wait until you are old to go study those things. Ne? So knowledge of God gives highest development. Book of Nature, it gave endless delight and instruction to these students. Yes, they were born old, but they were children. They were created old, but they were what? They were children. So I want us to remember that, God forms them. He didn't form them to be, and they had knowledge. They had to acquire knowledge as they go. You understand? So in the light of the knowledge of God, they receive the highest development and delight in their holy existence. So we need to do that as well. We need to delight ourselves, in the Lord as we learn. When you learn about trees, you learn about God. One of the nice lessons I learned when we did trees was that the tree is upright. Even if the tree will go to the side, it will always
Go upright. Even if the ground is not level.
Yes, it always is upright. Then it teaches us that we need to also be upright in character and shoot straight to God. So when you learn nature, you learn about who? About God. So there's no way that you can disentangle the two to put the two aside. They are together. So Eden School was a blueprint for all the schools that were to be established throughout the unfallen earth. But unfortunately, the earth fell. But even if it is so, even under changed condition, true education conditions must still what? Prevail, okay? So we are thankful for that, the blueprint. We look at what God did, then we follow it the way it should be done, all right? So this is just a little history of what true education is about. You see, now we are missing a lot, ne? When we deviate from this type of education. Yeah, I want us to remember your first time at school. Where was your school? Maybe here is different, yeah. But those who are living closer to the cities, you know, in South Africa now, children must go to school at 4.
Hey.
It's tough. It's a regulation. And you see that way it's taking the children away from their parents. There's a regulation that all homeschooling children must be registered so that they can follow the curriculum that they want. If you don't register, you could be jailed for a whole year. Then what's going to happen to your children when you are jailed? You see? But it's to instill fear to you that you need to register, and they want to know how many are there so that they can control us. You see, so it is very important to take, especially where you are, take the opportunity that you have to educate your children, so that when that time comes, because it's not afar off, you must be happy when you know you're still a bit lagging behind. It's a what?
A blessing.
A blessing. And let us not rush them and say, we want civilization. Hey, we want Senten in Malawi. No. Let Senten alone. Just let this land be beautiful as it is. And if that happens, then you are able to get the time with your children. Let us not rush them to secular schools. So now after the sin, this is what happens. It was God. God did not want us to know the knowledge, to know good and evil. He only wanted us to know the good. But because Adam and Eve fell, then there was the knowledge of good and evil at the same time. Whose plan was that? Hey, God knows. Hey, if you don't eat, if you eat, your eyes will be what? Will be open.
Now you will know.
You'll know. Meaning that now you're what? Yeah. Now you don't see anything. Eat and you what?
You will see.
You will see. Is that not what Satan is doing to us at the moment? Yes. So he withheld or forbade the knowledge of evil, but God gave men the power of choice, the power to yield or to withhold obedience. So we see in the story of the sin of eating that God really wanted the good for us, but men coveted what God forbade. Men distrusted God's wisdom. Men cast away faith, which is the key of knowledge. So, but God is so merciful in that even so, He still wants us to follow the education that was given in Eden. So man lost all because he chose to listen to the deceiver rather than to him who is truth and who is understanding. So, but as far as evil extends, the voice of the Father is heard, bidding his children see its results, the nature of sin, warning them to forsake the evil and inviting them to receive the good. So why am I taking through education or the history of true education? Is for us to see where God wanted us to be even before initially, and is still conforms, or he still wants us to follow the same, even though there are changed conditions, and it's gonna be hard, okay? And we must remember that education is not only for the what? For the children, it's also for what? For us. Especially us, we need to what? To unlearn. How can you impart knowledge that you don't have, mommy? You need to what? Unlearn, because we have been educated in a different way. And that's why it's difficult for us sometimes when we teach. It's so hard, you know, to teach these lessons, because now we were not educated that way. So maybe just a question, as we go through this route of true education, why do people take their children and educate them in the home? What are some of the reasons? Maybe let's just talk. What are the reasons, or maybe you, what are the reasons you chose to do home education? Maybe let me just open up. What are the reasons people choose education, true education? Or what were your reasons for choosing to do true education? How many of us are doing true education? Can I see the hand? Okay. Maybe let me start with Mom. What were the reasons you chose home education?
Because I didn't want my children to mingle with other individuals who has got other characters that I don't.
Okay, so you didn't want them to mingle with others. Okay, what is your reason?
I found it as a good challenge, and I also thought it would be an opportunity for me to share all the knowledge I have as an inheritance to my children.
Okay, okay. And what were your reasons as a family? Can be father or mother. Daddy? What were your reasons?
Ladies first.
Well, for me, the initial thing that came to mind was to just take them away from the influences of the world, because now the right thing seems to be wrong and the wrong thing seems to be right.
Okay.
So I wanted to teach them the right things.
Okay. Yes, Daddy? Same thing.
Yes, same thing, of course, after understanding how education works.
Yeah.
I didn't see the point of taking them to...
Oh, okay. Is there anyone maybe who can say what are some of the reasons? Maybe. Yes, Teddy?
I haven't started yet, but the reason why I would want to start is, I mean, there's so many challenges that I'm facing. There's more like there's a great controversy. What we learn at home and what she then goes from school, there's always clash. So with that, then it's difficult for me to work it out. Then the only way we can cooperate is we bring home and we educate at home and realize that there is so much, especially with I'm not quite sure if we are, some of the parents also going through, but what we are going through is the street, street education is more, empowering the home education. So we try also to balance it up that we have a better, a more balanced
education. Okay. Yeah. What would be your reason for home education? Or what are your reasons?
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. Okay. Mommy?
I think I read somewhere where it says that the parents are the teachers.
Okay.
Like whether it's the first teachers or the teachers.
Yes.
So when I read that, I just decided that I should insert anything before the work does.
Yes.
And the other thing was, I think the other.
You've forgotten it. When you remember, just raise your hand. Ne? Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. So people have got various reasons. Ne? Other things, I'll just make it general, including also in our country. They want to avoid violence, bullying, and influences from public school. You talked about influence. Ne?
I remember the other thing was how the brain of the child works. The curriculum they use in the other schools, they start teaching them like mathematics or anything at an early stage.
Yes.
So because of that, I wanted them to learn the first things, the basics.
Yes, yes.
The character building.
Yes, yes.
Before they go there
And start the academics. Yes. Okay, thank you. So, you do know, I don't know if it happens like here in Malawi, but there's a lot of bullying say, in the schools.
Yeah, a lot.
Ne? There's a lot of bullying, ne? And there's violence. I was reading at a certain school, they went to clean the school. They found pangas, they found guns, and in the school, high school. How do you do that? Why do these children carry those things? So sending your child to that kind of an environment, it's very dangerous, ne? Because others, they even form gangs. They gangsters, especially in Cape Town. There's a lot of gangsterism there. And if you go to the school and you don't form the gang, then you are being bullied. The reason why they homeschool is to overcome learning difficulty or learning disabilities. Okay, the child is slow, the child is dyslexic, but when you do true education, those things don't matter, because you go with the child's pace, and you look at their style of learning, and you custom make each education for each child. Others, they want to provide good worldly career opportunities. They say, no, if they're educated at home, then I can channel them to go to this career. What is your reason? That's why I asked. Some, they do it to develop a good character. Okay? Others follow a Christian-based curriculum because it's not there in the schools, so they want to follow a Christian-based curriculum. Others do it to follow God's plan of education. He said, I want to do the right thing. So the right thing for us, what is the reason why we want to do true education, is to follow God's educational plan. God has given, He has done everything for us, so we should follow it. So I want us to look at the brief history of education in different periods. Education before sin, we've gone through that. It's our blueprint. Education of the patriarchs. Education in Israel. The schools of the prophets, schools in the days of Jesus, school in our time. So we'll take it slow by slow, okay? So in the education of the patriarchs, so we're looking at the period after the Eden. Okay, when they were taken out of Eden. So you have the period of the patriarchs. So during the time of the patriarchs, how was true education? Was there true education, or did people say, oh no, we're not gonna go through that? But remember, when Adam and Eve sinned, they had children out of Eden. And then one of the children went away and created a city. They built a city. So we know what happens in the cities. It's a different story altogether. Okay? I'm just gonna go. I was planning to use my laptop, so now everything is separated here on my phone. But anyway, we're gonna continue nonetheless, okay? We're looking at education after sin. That quotation I was telling you about, that under change condition, true education is still conformed to the Creator's plan, the plan of the Eden School. That's education page 30. Education page 30. So there is now the knowledge of good and evil. Since sin cast its shadows over the earth, even the child, as he comes in contact with nature, will see cause for perplexity. He cannot but recognize the working of antagonistic forces. It is here that nature needs an interpreter, which is where we come through. So when you come through after sin, after the sin, nature needs its interpreter, and it is us who are the mothers and the fathers who must learn from God to be able to do that. So I just wanted to give this quotation. So now, whenever in Israel God's plan of education was carried into effect, the results testified of its author. So these are just the quotation I want us to have and to know that the blueprint or the education that God gave us, it will testify of its author even after sin. All right. So now the education of the patriarchs, how was the blueprint taught in the school? It says the family was the school and the parents were the teachers. The education centering in the family was that which prevailed in the days of the patriarchs. So there was home education also during the time of the patriarchs. You see here, for the schools thus established, God provided the conditions most favorable for the development of character. The people who were under his direction still pursued the plan of life that he had appointed in the beginning. So was home education still prevailing in the time of the patriarchs? It prevailed. Okay, so the men who held fast God's principles of life dwelled among the what? The fields and the hills. They were tillers of soil and keepers of flocks and herds. And in this free, independent life, with its opportunities for labor and study and meditation. So that's what physical, the labor, study, the mental, meditation, the spiritual. They learned of God and taught their children of his works and ways. This was the method of education that God established in Israel. That's education, page 33. So during the time of the patriarchs, God still instilled this true education to these families. So I want us to see that it's not like God wants us to do it now. He still wanted it to be done generation after generation from one to the other. Okay, so education is in Israel. Children, there were how many? Did you hear me? There were how many?
Few.
There were few who were prepared to work together with him. I'm reading page 33 to page 34 of education. The parents themselves needed instructions and discipline. Victims of lifelong slavery, they were what? Ignorant, untrained, and degraded. They had little knowledge of God and little faith in him. They were confused by false teaching and corrupted by their long contact with heathenism. God desired to lift them to a higher level. To this end, he sought to give them a knowledge of himself. So you see, even after Egypt, now Egypt is known to have good education. Am I right? In history, is it not true? Yes, was known. You know, the pyramids that were built there, it was a place or a city or a country where there were intellectuals. So they were educated in that education. When they came out, what happened? They were victims of lifelong slavery. They were prepared. They were not prepared to work together with who? With God. But God, the reason why he took them through the wilderness school. You know what happened in the wilderness? God was teaching them industry in the wilderness. He taught them to work with their hands. He gave them the law. He taught them the spiritual. Okay? In doing the work of the hands, they were learning also intellectually, because there was mathematics in that school. You know, how do you build the sanctuary? How do you build a sanctuary? There's measurements in that sanctuary, okay? Everything is measured. You know, the table of shewbread, the tabernacle, the Ark of the Covenant, even how the sheets, the curtains, everything is measured. So there was a school there, a serious school, physical with the hands, mental with the head, and what? And the spiritual, because God wanted to bring back them to Him. Then even afterwards, when they settled in Canaan, because they were the few of them were ready. Because once I read these conditions of these people in Canaan, I see us, isn't it like that? Are we ready to cooperate with God? Many of us have gone astray. Our education is what has degraded. So there was the school of the prophets that was started. The school of the prophets, which was what? Started by who? By Samuel. Because God saw that the education that these people have received from Egypt, I tried to even educate them in the wilderness, but their brains are still in Egypt. What is Egypt today for us? The world is what? Is Egypt for us. And the world is Babylon for us. So when God says we should get out of Egypt, it means we should come back and be educated in His own way. Okay? Fathers and mothers in Israel became indifferent to their obligation to God, indifferent to their obligation to their children. Through unfaithfulness in the home and idolatrous influences without, many of the Hebrew youth received an education differing widely from that which God planned for them. They learned the ways of the heathen. This is the case today. So we can see that home education went, and then it got lost along the way. Then that's when God said, you know what, because people don't want to do home education anymore, let's open the schools of the what? Of the prophets. Okay? And the school of the prophets, if you look at their what? At their syllabus, it was different. They learned what? Sacred music, sacred history, sacred poetry. They worked with their hand. It's a similar curriculum that was in what? In Eden, which is the schools that we need to have. Are our church schools today following that pattern, following the schools of the prophets? Are we sustaining ourselves through labor? No, we are receiving grants from who? From the government, so that we can continue at the mental training. And do we see sewing machines in the schools? Do we see the benches for carpentry? When I started my high school, I went to a school. They were doing home economics. There were stoves. They were doing woodworking. So I came after there were riots in that school. So some of the buildings were burned. I think it was a staff room. You know, there was violence at some point in time. I don't know whether the children were rioting or for whatever. I don't know. That was 1994. So there were the students who were there. They were doing the last grade, which is grade 12 or standard 10 or form 4. So after they left, we who came, we never went to home economics. We never went to do woodworking. So those benches and the stoves, they were actually taken out, and those rooms they put the chalkboard. That was it. That was the case also even in the time of Israel. There is nothing new under the what? Under the sun. What has been, it shall what? It shall be. So now the schools of the prophets, they were built so that it can be a replacement of the what? Of the homes. Because the homes, they did not want to do homeschooling as God has intended it to be. So you see that God is very merciful, isn't it? So He still gives us even the plan, even when we don't want to follow the plan. But God is calling us to do home education today. God is calling us to open, if we want to open the schools, to open the schools of the prophets, to help other homes who cannot, or who are not ready, or who are not cooperating with God. You know, calling them here, the children, when they go back home, they might even revive the parents. Even in the time of Jesus did not go to the what? To the schools of the rabbis. And you ask yourself, what happened to the schools of the prophets in the time of Jesus? Where were they? Uncle, where were the schools of the prophets in the time of Jesus?
They will now send children to Babylon to be educated there.
The Greeks had taken over at that time, okay? They wanted the Greek education. And the Greek education is the education that all of us in the world, we are following under the Greek what? System of education, okay? So in the time of Jesus, Jesus was educated at home. And he's our example. The reason why it was the mingling of the good and the what? And the evil. The bad influences that we are talking about. Okay? So may God help us that even in the last days, we still need to conform to education of Eden, which is why we are here. And in the next few days, we're going to learn what is it that we need to teach in our schools in various ages, because you don't just teach the same thing for this little girl and the big sister. What do you teach them? Mommy said something interesting. The schools, they teach this. I want to teach what? Character. So what are the levels that we need to follow? What is it that you need to teach you? So for the next few days, so we're going to look at that. Yeah, we'll just look at the various ages. So I just wanted us to look to see where home education started, and should we still continue with home education? Do you think so?
Absolutely.
Okay, so yes, meaning that tomorrow as we go through, all of us, we want to learn what is it that we should teach in our homeschooling, at what age should be taught, and then we'll just look at the experiences of others and what is it that they've done and what were the successes. So may God help us. I don't want to go far, but I would like to say, if you have a comment or a question, this is the time for you to ask. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I have two questions.
Okay.
So, my first question is, I think it's more because of the systems that we've gone through as a people. We've not been, I think it would be easier if we also went through it. I think, as you said, if we had also gone through the same or similar system, and then now as parents trying to impart the same path for children, but because we've gone through a different or a worldly system of education, there's always that, at least for me, and I know for my wife who's not here, there's that sort of tension, friction, like pulling, trying to go towards something that you've not really yourself. So, but also because of, I think there's a reality of people being at different levels or stages of their walk with God, I guess. If that makes sense. Because when you look at the idea of true education and how it fits in perfectly with everything else that we're learning here, like the country living message, it fits in perfectly. But you find that, like for me, for example, I'm not yet in the country, living in the city, and both of us were still working our day jobs. So there's that pull as well. That I guess my question is that my first question is that what are the first steps? Because there's the end,
the ideal,
exactly, and then there's different realities for different people on the path to perfection, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
So what are
the first steps?
What are the baby steps? You have your 2-year-old, you have your 3-year-old. Both of you are still working. The child is not yet in school. What are the baby steps? That's the first question. The second question is, when, for example, when I was growing up as a child, my parents would say, you need to go to school so that you should be independent. You know, go through the curriculum, go through the Form 4s, go to university, get a degree, get a job so that you're independent, you can provide for yourself and for your family and all that. when we put that system aside and now we adopt this system, my question is, what is the end? What's the vision for our children? What do we want them? I just want to understand that what is the end goal, because when we talk about the water system, it's clear. You get the degree, you hopefully get a job, you sustain yourselves. And I know that for us, we're looking at something bigger,
Yes.
greater. So what is that?
Okay, thank you. I think Baba yesterday nailed it.
I missed it.
Oh, he nailed it yesterday. That let me just start with your last question. Is it, are we really independent when you go to the schools? Are we really independent?
No.
We are what? You are dependent.
The
other way around. They said we are going to be what? Independent, but we are not. Okay, now you go to school, here's a chain. You are chained to the desk for 12 years.
Exactly.
You're not moving. You are chained there. Then you're going to go be chained for your tertiary for 4 years to 7 years. Then you're not going anywhere. You have to go to the system, go look for a what? A job. Then you are chained to the what? To the desk. For 8 hours, you are chained there. Am I wrong? No. Yes, the only way to be independent is to come out of here, my people. Okay. I think I read, let me try and read that statement of the patriarchs. Do you remember what it said? It said it gave them opportunity for what? Independent life. I don't know if you did hear that one. Did it say so, ne? Education of the what? Of the patriarchs. Yes. It says they were tillers of the soil and the keepers of the flock, country living. And in this free, independent life, with its opportunities for labor and study and meditation, they learned of God and taught their children of His works and ways. This was the method of education that God desired to establish. So we were being fooled to thinking that, because you know, when this education was brought, we were living like the patriarchs, isn't it? Self-sustaining, independent life, and you know, we lived better, you know, healthy. But with that, what are we? We are stuffed into the what? Into the cities, and it's living in boxed houses, am I right? In flats, am I right? And what happens when there's coronavirus? We didn't feel it in the what? In the countryside. No, we didn't know what corona was. But what happened in the cities? You know, yeah, it increased, and it's because now we are what? Most populated. So unfortunately, that life that we were told it's independent, it is not. Yes, it has the money, mammon. Am I right? Lots of money. And yes, we need the money, but do we only need the money?
No, we need health.
You know, you can have, you know, you can have a lot of money to buy back health.
Oh yeah.
All right, but you can have no money or not too much money, but still have what? Health and not buy it. I get. Yes. So my time is up now.
Yes, please.
Okay. So maybe the second one, the first answer that you asked. What are the first steps? I think just look at my testimony. I couldn't do it if I'm continuing what? Working. And as you continue, you'll see that there's a work of character building. Mommy said the first parents are the first teachers are the what? Are the parents. You may outsource parenting, but it doesn't work, because the person who's taking after your children, they impart that character to their to your own children.
That's it.
You know, my first child was raised by my mother, and they're so like this with my mom. And you can see that my mom had an influence on him. You know, even sometimes when I try to do this, I like him and my mom like this. They understand each other. Their children build bonds with our nannies. There are children build bonds with the teachers at school.
They do.
Angethi, when you try to say, no, my teacher is going to beat me. I am not going if you don't give me this thing. Like, he's not afraid of you. He's afraid of the word of the teacher because of the bonds. So the first thing would be you need to restructure your life. Look at how you can do it so that the mother can be home to do the education. That's the first step that you can do, while you are still looking at other ways to go out of the city. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but I think, yeah, because my time is up, maybe we can sit down. As I continue, I'll try and include how we can do the first steps. Yes, my brother?
I want to just request for the time people just 2 minutes. For the first question, I think in our own testimony, we also in the same point. That my wife is working, I'm working, but now you want to homeschool the children. So we had to agree that, you know what, one of us should stay home while we survive on one side. So it was a sacrifice. We're supposed to be living life at a certain level, but we had to come to another
downgrade,
level.
yes.
That's why we are sustained, but we're also able to do the things we wanted to do. So by and by, that's when the other industries started to come. We can also do this, do that, while the children are still studying at home. So there will be a level of sacrifice. I think that's what most of us are not ready to do, because you have this good job, just this good job, you have
This nice car.
now we have this good car and all this.
And then you're like,
for you to come to this,
do I give this up?
but it has to be made. It's a sacrifice.
Yes.
For the sake of our
Yes. Thank you so much. So to reach the ideal, my brother, there's a level of stepping back that we need to do. From that independent life that was termed independent, we need to go to the real independent life. So, but it unfortunately takes more from us. We had dreams. I was with a friend of mine. Before I came here, I went and slept at her house before I came to my love. And she was worried. She says, no, my friend, no. We had dreams. I am worried about you. And you know, some things you cannot just say, you just listen. And says, my friend, it's a choice that I made. And she's even blaming my husband. She says, no, this husband of yours, yeah, he came with this thing. That's not you. Yeah, he messed you up. He doesn't love you. And I'm like, I was so hurt. I'm like, do you understand? Yeah, and that's the exact word that he used. You see, so, but of course, she's not Adventist. Even if she was Adventist, there are many Adventists who don't believe in this word. You understand? So what I'm saying is, when we make those choices, we must accept that our friends will leave us. Our friends will think that we are stupid. Our friends will think that we are mad. How can you do this? But when
they're saying friends are too far, you should talk of family. Your own immediate family.
Yes, your own immediate family.
Your siblings.
Yes, you see, especially if they are educated. They say, you know what they say? They would say, yeah, you went. I had a family member says, yeah, you went to the schools and you came out okay. Now why you want to take these children in a different route? So
That's the first question.
yes. So, but you must be. Yes. You know, they would remind you. You remember where you came from? You used to sleep in a hut. Now you sleep in this big house. So now you want to take them back to the hut. So you will meet such. But if we follow what God says, let God lead step by step, and He will tell you what to do. The journey is different for each family. Okay, but at the end we're going to the ideal. Okay, bit by bit, bit by bit. Amen.